We are changing a little bit the order of the panel. So it's a pleasure for me to be here today. I'm Christine Auclair from UN-Habitat. I'm going to moderate this panel. And just to set the scene, on the occasion of the World Habitat Day Global Observance, UN-Habitat is organizing this roundtable hosted by the city of Balikesir. Our topic for the day is new social contract for urban resilience and sustainability. As you know, the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has called for a new social contract for a new era to fight a new pandemic, the pandemic of inequalities. Urban poverty is on the rise, and this is likely to accelerate if no action is taken. However, we know that many leaders around the world are taking action, and they are changing the dynamic. So now today we are going to talk with an eminent panel, representative from national government, local government, and civil society, grassroots. So Mrs. Delgado, Madame Delgado is coming right now in the room, so we'd like to welcome. Please join me to welcome Madame Delgado to this panel. Please come. So at the end of this roundtable, we would like to have some key takeaway from the World Habitat Day, especially what we want to know is what are the main transformative ideas and actions on the theme, mind the gap, leave no one and no place behind, some good practices, and some key recommendations that we will take away from this meeting. So we have an eminent panel representing national government, city leaders, grassroots, civil society organization, academia, professionals and researchers. And in this first segment, we have the pleasure of having Madame Marta Delgado. She's the president of the UN-Habitat Assembly and vice minister for multilateral affairs and human rights from Mexico. Please join me in welcoming Madame Delgado. We'll have Siraj Said, who is a professor at the Noon Center in the University of West London, Mahmoud El-Bourai, who is a president of the Middle East Cities Institute in Dubai, and Zuzana Tatara, she's Secretary General of the Urban Intergroup from the European Parliament. So we'll start with Madame Delgado. Madame Delgado, you are the chair, you are the president of the UN-Habitat Assembly. You are also an expert, I understand, in environmental policy and international development from Harvard University. And you are very knowledgeable about the new urban agenda. So from your perspective, how can the new urban agenda serve as a roadmap, an instrument to help shape the new social contract that Mr. Guterres is talking about? Over to you.
Oh, thank you very much. It is a pleasure for me sharing with my colleagues the panel. And just to go directly to the point, I have to say that in the past, it was very difficult for cities and for communities to just guessing around which of the public policies implemented at the local level were successful or would fit the reality or the conditions of your city. So the new urban agenda brings us the common ground for organizing the public policies for sustainable management of water systems, waste, air quality, for urban transportation, for devoting all the public resources for public services itself. And I think that the fact that the motto of the Agenda 2030 is leaving no one behind means that this agenda that we are trying all to implement needs to be taken as a path for all to succeed, to thrive. Cities, if cities thrive, then citizens thrive too. And I think that if we follow on the new urban agenda or these principles, in the future, in the near future, all the citizens and cities will thrive.
Thank you, Madame Delgado. According to you, what are the key principles and drivers of change that are in the new urban agenda that can best guide the new social contract? What are the values that should underpin the social contract also?
In my perspective, taking the public space as the center of public policies is very important. Second, the principle of the participation, being all these participatory and inclusive point of view or management of the decision-making processes. And also, I think that sustainability must be a principle taken for all mayors and all citizens also in a way of sustainable development being not just a goal for the future, but a way of doing things.
So now, maybe looking at your own country and maybe your region, can you highlight some successful solutions in your country and region that are likely to help the new social contract, guide the new social contract?
Well, I can say that in a country like Mexico, the public transportation in cities is a challenge. We have more than 100 cities with more than 1 million inhabitants, and every city that start developing a certain level of public transportation demands needs to rethink the way the cities are growing and the public transportation orientation for not to contaminate the air, and also providing the citizens for good mobility solutions is going to be key for the future of these medium-sized cities. In Mexico City, I had the opportunity of being the Minister for the Environment, and back 12 years ago, we installed the first bike-sharing system in the Americas. So after that, a lot of cities of the world have bring these bike-sharing programs to as a solution, not just as a very not common way of mobility, but for example, in Mexico City, we have had more than 100 million trips in bikes for across all the city. So the biking is a very good solution that we have experienced in our cities in Mexico, and we can share experience on that.
Fantastic. I think this will be a good part of the best practices that we will take out of this session. Maybe to a final question, would you have any particular recommendation to make for the end of the day on the topic Mind the Gap, leave no one and no place behind, in terms of policy from your national government perspective?
Yes, well, I think that Mexico City, for example, has been acknowledged, unfortunately, for being a very polluted city. We have been struggling with air quality, bad air quality for a long time, 30 years. And right now, we have better air quality due to improving the public transportation system of the city, but also because we are moving to electromobility, which is important in big cities due to the emissions of pollutants to the air. So in Mexico City, we used to have very, very bad air quality, and now we have a not very good, but good air quality. In the past 10 years has been instrumental for us to move on the electromobility, bike sharing, and also for providing a best quality of fuels for cars and for public transportation. No sulfur, no sulfates, not plum in the gasoline, for example. And I think that the technological advancements and technologic approach for these kind of policies in transportation, but also, for example, for waste management, water management. Technology is very important in cities to be successful for sustainability. Rather, if we think on good air quality, but also for water or for, as I mentioned, waste management, technology will help cities very much to accomplish all the objectives for sustainability.
Thank you, Madame Delgado.